Donald Trump appears to be completely bereft of his trademark sense of humor. The 76-year-old president reportedly prompted White House officials to contact a high-ranking Disney official in response to Jimmy Kimmel's repeated mockery of him on his late-night show, Jimmy Kimmel Live. ABC's parent company is Disney. Trump believed Kimmel was being extremely dishonest and engaging in behavior that Trump would have previously sued over, according to an anonymous source who spoke to Rolling Stone. Before I go into this video's detailed explanation, I want to ask you to hit the subscribe button if you like our videos. Much obliged. Another source informed the media that at least one call was placed to Disney. It occurred, although I am unsure to whom. DJT's fixation on it compelled him to take action, despite no one anticipating any significant changes. The main reason it was doing something was to show Trump that it had accomplished something. The TV host tweeted the story with the phrase, "another perfect call," when the news broke, and many found the exchange hilarious. More bullshit from @Real Donald Trump and "they appear to frequently overstate their sway substantially" were two of the comments. When asked last year if he might tone down his Trump jokes, Kimmel, 55, refused to compromise. "I simply advised you to follow your heart if that is your desire. I get it, and I don't hold it against you, but I'm not going to do that," he stated on the Naked Lunch podcast. The former reality star has a history of attacking comedians. In 2017, then FCC Chairman Ajit Pai investigated Stephen Colbert, a CBS host, for mocking Trump during a monologue. He told Time in 2017 that when you watch someone like Colbert, who isn't talented, there's nothing funny about what he says. Plus, there are children watching, and what he says is disgusting. It strengthens my foundation even more. My own benefit is that I am the sole beneficiary. He has a lot of fans. He was on the verge of losing his career. Just so you know, they were about to cancel his TV show until he started attacking me, and then things turned around. However, his show was losing viewers, Trump remarked. In his rage over Jimmy Kimmel's jokes, Donald Trump instructed White House officials to reach out to a Disney executive. In 2018, according to a story, Donald Trump reportedly ordered White House officials to contact a Disney executive in an effort to stop Jimmy Kimmel from poking fun of him. Now, Jimmy is enjoying the last laugh. On Monday, February 27th's Jimmy Kimmel Live, he couldn't resist bringing it up. According to the story, the Trump White House reportedly made 2 calls to express the president's displeasure with Kimmel's comments and monologues. To rephrase, President Karen insisted on speaking with my manager, Kimmel noted in reference to the Rolling Stone article. Speaking about his alleged payment to Stormy Daniels on the eve of the 2016 election, he made a joke about how usually he pays people $130,000 to stop talking about him. In this case, though, he wanted someone to do it for free. The host pondered Trump's, 76, possible sources of anger and proceeded to name-drop some of his nicknames, such as Bone Spurs and Mar-a-Lago Daddy. "Wow, what a delicate little snowflake," Kimmel remarked. "He's a complete dweeb and a nutjob." His wife, Melania Trump, who thinks about whether Fox News will defend his jokes every night while laughing too hard during his monologue, sleeps in separate bedrooms from him. "I am not sure," he stated. Furthermore, he argued that it is particularly hypocritical for someone who portrays themselves as the foremost advocate against censorship and defender of free speech, considering that the First Amendment right was fought for by Americans who displayed far greater bravery than Donald Trump. Kimmel ended by mentioning that we still have that arcade claw machine that the MyPillow guy got in case the former reality star wants to come on the program and tell me to shut up. Climb inside and spew your fragile ego all you want. The infamous late-night maestro Jimmy Kimmel reacted audaciously to the latest statement of outgoing President Donald Trump on Thursday, December 7, 2023, using his unfettered wit. On the first day of his possible re-election in 2024, Trump had already stated his intention to ascend to the position of dictator. On his show, Kimmel whimsically examined Trump's comments from the night before at the Fox News town hall, hosted by Sean Hannity in Davenport, Iowa, enthralling viewers with his harsh critique. Adroitly setting the scene, Kimmel painted a detailed image of Trump's humiliating gaffe, comparing it to a weak swing and a miss at the softest of balls. He faced an astute question about the potential abuse of his presidential power to seek revenge against political opponents if he were to win another term. Those on the inside say Trump's reaction was shocking. Aside from that crucial first day, he boldly promised not to abuse his power. As the studio audience reveled in the ridiculousness of Trump's admission, they burst out laughing and eventually cheered. Unfazed by the mockery, Trump continued to lay out his first day's agenda, which included his plans to shut off the borders and begin drilling nonstop. He gushed over Hannity, the man who had so dutifully boosted his voice, with an air of charming companionship, proclaiming his love for him. "Oh, how splendid it must be to rule with an iron fist for a mere 24 hours, while the rest of the time you vanish into thin air," Kimmel quipped, skillfully blending humor with a sharp critique of Trump's nonchalant attitude towards the notion of dictatorship, scathingly mocking Trump's audacious claim of being a day one dictator. Kimmel grabbed the perfect moment to unleash his retort. Kimmel, visibly shocked by the interview, made a bold claim that Trump had admitted to harboring authoritarian tendencies and criticized what he saw as manipulative questions. "Oh, look who's planning to take over the country. He just came right out and said it," Kimmel said with a sneer. The source claims that Kimmel stressed the seriousness of the upcoming election by making the sardonic comment, "Come November, we shall cast our votes to determine if we shall ever vote again," alluding to the perceived threat to democratic processes that Trump's rhetoric poses. Democrats and some Republicans are worried about Trump's latest comments, in which he calls political opponents vermin and expresses a desire for revenge. Regardless, the former president is still far and away leading the Republican primary polls. Among the 6 battleground states, 4 have him ahead of President Joe Biden, according to recent statistics from Siena College and the New York Times. Republicans in Congress, led by Tennessee's Tim Burett, ignored the criticisms and characterized Trump's comments as inane campaign rhetoric. Burett told CNN's Phil Mattingly that he isn't worried by Trump's evasive answers on the misuse of power and dictatorship, in reference to previous remarks about possible dictatorial acts in a second term. Hannity tried to get Trump to promise not to break the law or misuse his office during his second term, but Trump was evasive. Mattingly asked Burett for his thoughts on Trump's hesitation to denounce autocratic behavior. Burett responded by saying he wasn't too worried and pointing out Trump's New Yorker image, which he said was due to his courage. Burett implied that Trump's claims were just campaign rhetoric, saying that politicians make pledges like these to energize voters. Burett recognized that Trump must follow the law and that there are institutions that provide a check and balance, such as the courts and the Department of Justice. Even though Burett admitted that the Justice Department was corrupt, she was skeptical about Trump's ability to carry out any totalitarian policies. Burett casually brushed off Trump's hyperbole, including his threats to use the Justice Department for revenge, as just another electioneering tactic to rally followers and get votes. The judge denied 2 of Trump's motions to dismiss the federal case of election interference. After reviewing the evidence, Barrett concluded that campaign rhetoric does not align with reality and suggested that even if Trump were to win a second term in office, his promises might not be fulfilled. This conversation sheds light on the Republican Party's continuing disagreement on Trump's impact and the remark's possible long-term effects on the organization. As Trump shapes the storyline around his political ambitions, lawmakers like Burett provide varying viewpoints on the seriousness of his goals, with some seeing his statements as nothing more than campaign theater. Donald Trump's recent comments have ignited fresh waves of anger and fear over his possible misuse of power in the event that he were to win the presidency again. During a town hall meeting with Sean Hannity of Fox News, Trump casually brought up the possibility of displaying authoritarian tendencies, with the caveat that he plans to seal the borders and ramp up drilling operations on his first day in office. Attempts by Trump's team to allay worries about an authoritarian administration have been met with outrage over this apparently lighthearted comment. His carefree comments during the live town hall highlighted his unconcerned support for authoritarian ideology. Some see Trump's statements and stated plans to deploy the military through the Insurrection Act as going beyond the instructions given to allies to reduce negative perceptions. Some have compared the former president's rhetoric to more sinister periods in American history, such as his use of the term vermin to describe his opponents and his threats of revenge. Political opponents and policy experts are already worried that a second term could bring a more harsh and authoritarian form of leadership, but his words have only made their fears worse. Some Republican senators say Trump's remarks are predictable and don't surprise anyone, while others say they're a big part of his real appeal. However, critics argue that such divisive language and plans of action not only endanger the core values of American democracy but also cannot be dismissed as mere political posturing. According to Biden-Harris 2024 campaign manager Julie Chavez Rodriguez, Trump is shamelessly exposing his dictatorial ambitions and calling on the American people to listen to him. This comes after Trump's recent comments were highlighted by the campaign. Uncertainties about the procedures put in place to avoid the possible abuse of executive power continue to occupy the conversation around Trump's statements. Viewers looking into the future of election contests are understandably worried about the precarious balance between carrying out policies and maintaining democratic standards. Additionally, please share your opinions in the designated area. Please hit the like button if you thought this video was helpful. Ex-President Trump drew media attention after an explosive outburst outside of the courtroom as he fiercely criticized Judge Arthur Engoron, who oversaw his fraud trial. Trump seemed unmoved by questions concerning his contentious comments made at the debate the night before, choosing instead to focus on his continuing legal struggle. He denied the accusations against him, calling them a witch hunt of unprecedented scale, displaying his flair for the theatrical. Questions about the critiques leveled at Trump throughout the contentious debate and his bold assertion of wanting to be a dictator from the start were among the many topics covered during his latest court appearance. In spite of the intense scrutiny, Trump deftly shifted the conversation back to the trial, where he denied the accusations and cast aspersions on the whole investigation. Accusing the Attorney General of leading a biased trial, Trump blasted her as unreasonable and impulsive in an angry outburst. He complained about Judge Engoron's decisions even before the trial started, claiming that the judge was biased and had committed improper acts. In his fierce defense of his innocence, Trump attacked the judge's decision to value his assets and said the evidence was heavily in his favor. Trump, whose statements were replete with defiance, was adamant about fighting what he saw as an unfair judicial battle and would not budge. A restraining order imposed by Engoron has curbed Trump's social media antics and comments on the trial, coinciding with his continued campaign against the order. At the same time, he had a heated confrontation in court. After a lower court affirmed the ban, the ex-president appealed to the New York Court of Appeals. The order originated from Trump's social media tweets that made reference to Engoron and his staff, leading to accusations of harassment and anti-Semitic remarks directed towards Judge Allison Greenfield. Concurrently, Trump faces legal obstacles in multiple states that attempt to prevent him from being on the ballot in 2024, as federal and state charges hang over his head. A group of conservative attorneys general challenged Trump's ability to run for Colorado governor in 2024 by submitting legal arguments. This appeal originated from a decision that disqualified Trump supporters who challenged his role in the attack on January 6 by citing the Uprising Clause, which prohibits former officials who participated in an uprising from holding public office again. Despite Judge Sarah B. Wallace's admission of Trump's claimed insurrectionary activity, she ruled that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which forbids anybody who has participated in an insurrection from being president, did not apply to the presidency, further escalating the legal clash. Both sides filed immediate appeals in response to this verdict, with the plaintiffs strongly criticizing the judgment as unreasonable and ludicrous. The Trump administration's legal staff quickly asked the U.S. Supreme Court for review. The Trump administration's legal staff quickly sent the case to the Supreme Court for review, where fierce challenges to the finding that the former president was involved in the purported uprising are underway. The legal struggles that Trump is facing have only intensified over the past few months. He continues to face confrontations in court, constant appeals, and difficult problems that will undoubtedly hinder his political ambitions and future involvement in the electoral process. Scott Jesser, who was representing Donald Trump, came under heavy fire for trying to disprove the idea that the U.S. Raw story characterized the attack on the Capitol as an insurrection on Thursday, December 7, 2023. The fact that Jesser admitted to making up his own concept of an uprising and that he claimed it must last for a long time led to severe criticism of him. During a session with the Colorado Supreme Court, these arguments unfolded as they considered an appeal that would challenge the 14th Amendment in an attempt to remove Trump from the 2024 presidential ballot. According to CNN's coverage of the courtroom exchange, Jesser made an unusual effort to overturn a lower court's decision that labeled Trump's activities as an insurrection but found the 14th Amendment to be unimportant for sitting presidents. The length of the rebellion, according to Jesser, must be substantial, not just 3 hours. This claim took the justices aback, prompting them to question the source of his conditions for defining rebellion. The justices' observations that Jesser's constraints did not align with accepted definitions, such as the classification of the January 6 assault as an insurrection, heightened the tension. Jesser openly admitted, when asked about the source of his interpretation, "At the end of the day, we're all sort of making it up." This confession went viral on social media and caused a stir of anger and laughter among people watching the court proceedings. So, basically, okay, I got nothing, but he obviously didn't do it. A user named Amy hilariously referred to Trump's legal team as Trump's law firm. Do we cheat, and how? Some commenters, like Bill Deo, summed up the issue cynically. Additional difficulties arose for Jesser's defense when he said that the rioters of January 6 lacked the weaponry required to overwhelm the police. Justice William Hood disagreed, pointing out that homemade weapons perpetrated widespread destruction and caused over 100 cops to be hurt. In the midst of the heated argument over the nature of rebellion and how it affected their decision, Jess went into unfamiliar ground by comparing explicit content to a well-known saying, "I may not have a precise definition, but I can unmistakably recognize it when it crosses my path." This comparison caused confusion in the courtroom, calling into question Jessel's arguments and the seriousness of his attempts to downplay the significance of the January 6 event.